This is Pete the Tech Guy, and this is the latest of our subscriber-only commentaries. If you're watching the Tease and want to see the entire commentary, go to thetechguyblog.com. That's DATECHGUI blog.com. Hit subscribe for, hit the tip jar for any amount, and you'll get this week's commentary. Hit subscribe for any amount, and I'll make sure you get the commentaries every single week. Well, today I am in Gardner, Massachusetts. You probably aren't familiar with the town. It used to be called the Chair City. I'm in kind of the central square. You can see various places. There's a Citco station, the Shell station over there, Kenny's Chinese restaurant, fixture in Gardner. Up there is the Gardner Ale House, which is a regular, pretty decent restaurant. And I was here to cover a story that didn't materialize. And while I was waiting, I started walking up and down the street, checking out the areas. There's an old coin shop that I like to check out every now and then. And I noticed something about Gardner. At least this part of Gardner. This is basically the center of town. And it's kind of a weird center of town because it's a triangle. You go straight here, and there's like there's like 3 points, roads that meet in a point, and they all have shops and such on the various roads. And as I walked down the street, I noticed maybe a little less than half of the storefronts were empty. Probably a little bit less than half the storefronts. Now, to a person who lived in Gardner 50 years ago, they might say, oh my God, what's happened? Half the storefronts are empty. Well, I live in a city called Fitchburg, which is about 20 miles east of here. And looking at half the storefronts empty, I looked at it and said, wow, only half the storefronts are empty on the main drag. And it's all a question of proportion in terms of how things are going. For example, like I said, there's a liquor store there that's been a while. There's a children's clothing store up there, vintage clothing, realty shop. But there's an empty spot there. There's another one there. But there are a fair amount of businesses, some who've been here for a long time, that are still here. But there's another thing about Gardner I want to point out. If you look up that road, houses all full, people in them, lawns fairly kept. Down there, more houses, more people. Over there, in fact, the fellow was just mowing the lawn over there. So, while some of the downtown stores are empty, the city isn't empty. They're still able to keep their people, and there's some malls down the street, which is where a lot of this business is gone. Now, what does this have to do with anything? Well, it has to do with the theory of relativity, and not so much Einstein's theory of relativity, but in relative situations. Here's what I'm talking about.